Oke, Ricky. Ini ya, benar filenya ya?
Benar, Pak.
Oke. Coba diganti slide, Mas Cap. Takutnya ada error. Oke, udah. Oke, Mbak Safit, boleh dimulai ya?
Silakan.
Oke. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Faculty of Law, Universitas Indonesia. The Most Outstanding Student Award Finals 2022. My name is Angga Priyanca, and I will be the host and moderator for today's session. So our first contestant will be Ricky Hendrika. Ricky, you are finished with all of the preparations?
Yeah, Bang.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a bit of the rules for today's presentation. Like in the Indonesian session, you will be given a 15 minutes of time to present your presentation. And after that, you're going to have a 30 minutes question and answer session with the judges. But in your presentation session, I will give a cues when your time, wait a second, when the time is left for 5 minutes or 1 minute. So unlike the previous session where I give you 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and 1 minute cues, for the English session, I will be going to give only 5 and 1 minute, last 5 minutes and 1 minute cues. Okay. Any questions? Okay. If there's no question, without further ado, I believe, okay, I'm sorry. Judges ready semua ya berarti. I'm going to have a final check. Okay. Mbak Tirta. Okay, because all the judges is already present. Without further ado, Ricky, you can start your presentation 15 minutes from now.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Angga. Imagine you are an 18-year-old student from Banda Aceh, just enrolled in Universitas Indonesia, 2 days fresh being in Depok. And while strolling around the city, you realize that you got lost in Margonda with a low battery, right? And then you are trying to figure out which way best leads you home. Suddenly, the goddess of fortune gives you either of these two options. Next. The first option would be you can ask for the direction from the guy on the left side of your screen, while the second one would be you need to ask it from the other guy on the right side of your screen. I believe most of us, if not all, are probably going to go with the former choice, not because of who they really are or which value that they truly represent, but it is just because of a simple piece of fabric called garment. Just like me wearing this yellow jacket right now, I believe probably people in the future would think that, oh, I'm such a smart person because the yellow jacket truly represents intelligence, right? But ladies and gentlemen, what if I ask you this? How would you consider yourself if the parameter of good and bad is not determined by the design and the embroidery of your outfit, but it is determined by the material of the fabric that you're wearing today? Next. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Madam Speaker, and my beloved bestie, the Abehnol, and also Budinda, who are watching and cheering for me in YouTube right now, probably. My name is Ricky Hendrika, and then for the remaining probably 13 minutes, I'll be presenting about Pakaian Humus, an early product innovation to overcome garment waste in Indonesia. Next. I will be dividing my presentations into 3 parts. First is I'm going to talk about the problem identification. And then second of all, I will scrutinize the potential of our geographic proximity. And third of all, I'm going to provide the solution for the problem that we already identified. Next. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered how much trash the 4th most populated country produces per year? According to a system called Sistem Informasi Pusat Sampah Nasional, which is directly managed by our Ministry of Environment and Forestry, 10 million tons of textile waste is dominating the trash composition in our country. While at the same time, our locals produce almost 400,000 ton garment per year. These numbers become highly urgent and relevant if we contextualize it to the amount of Indonesians who irresponsibly throw away their clothes. According to a research, 29% of Indonesian adults throw away a piece of clothing after wearing it just once, while 21% of millennials throw away their clothes just because of being bored with it. Let's be generous, right? If we were to calculate the number by the best assumption there is, at least Indonesians still waste almost more than 100 million pieces of clothing per year. And it is probably worth more than what? Like 1 million ton garment, right? While delivering my Bahasa Indonesia presentation 2 days ago, there's this like one nagging question about the significance of fashion angle to the environment. The answer has always been the same: astronomical, ladies and gentlemen. Just in 2019, our Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy recorded that fashion industry contributed 116 trillion rupiahs, or equal with 18.01% of financial worth for the creative economy in Indonesia. The number can be seen in the next slide. Yeah, thank you. And then while in 2020 until 2021, even during pandemic year, fashion industry still contributed 9 billion US dollars for Indonesia's economy. Both of these years dubbed fashion subsector as the most contributor for our creative economy scheme. But the good news is, ladies and gentlemen, next. Indonesia is a very rich country with so much geographic potential. Taking some examples, right? Natural raw fibers materials that are used for organic clothes production are all produced by our forests and by our natures. However, the problem with this are two levels. Number one, the fact that the natural fibers are still more expensive than synthetic materials. And second of all, there is still little to non-intervention from government in terms of the price regulation. Next. Aside from that, the obstacles that we might face in the future are the needed initial capital and also the market competition that might be rising after we are introducing this product. However, the solution is this. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, what you need to know about pakaian humus is just three simple things. First is that it is made from natural material. Second of all, so it is eco-friendly. And third of all, because it is from nature, then it is biodegradable, which means that our mother nature or mother earth has no problem in claiming it. In the production steps, we'll be partnering with some stakeholders, such as the raw material factory or producers, and also the processing factory, the garment factory, the chain of distribution, government, and also the private sector. Moving on, next slide. Let's dive deeper about this project. Pakaian humus is going to be marketed for Indonesians, and the types of clothing that we talk about is the ones that are in our daily use, such as t-shirt and also pajamas. With this product, we aim for 3 development targets. The first one is we want to infiltrate the awareness of pakaian humus into Indonesian society. Second of all, we want to ensure the continuity of pakaian humus production. And third of all, we want to create a snowball effect by increasing public awareness of environmental friendliness in other textile products. Next. So the indicator of success measurements are fourfold. Number one is that the increased awareness of the use of environmental friendly clothing by more than 62.9% in 2024. The reasoning behind this number is because there is a research study that shows that our current state of eco-friendly product acceptance is somewhere between 62 until 63%. So I think it is just fair for us to want to aim for a higher number after introducing this product. But second of all is the increased number of producers and purchases of pakaian humus. This will be counted accordingly. And third of all, the causality of the contribution from the sale of pakaian humus with 30% of trash deduction target by 2025 until 2029. This target is set by our Ministry of Environment and Forestry. And lastly, the snowball effect is the zero plastic use in textile production by 2030. This target is also set by our Ministry of Environment and also Forestry. Next. Let's talk about the acceptance. Pakaian humus is acceptable on 2 levels. First one is the fact that pakaian humus is in line with the vision of UU nomor 3 tahun 2014, Peraturan Menteri Perindustrian nomor 51 tahun 2015, and also Peraturan Menteri Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan nomor 75 tahun 2019. The second acceptance is seen through the societal perspective. I have conducted a brief research of my friends across the archipelago. There are 100 people out of 123 respondents who think that pakaian humus is a greatly needed eco-friendly innovation. This is supported with another case study conducted by Kata Data that shows 60.5% of 3,631 respondents are interested in purchasing eco-friendly products. So I think that through all of this acceptance rate, it entails in realisticness vision of our vision. Next. Yeah. Regarding the realisticness, what I hope everyone watching can understand is that pakaian humus is not a creation of new idea. We are actually inspired by the existing eco-friendly trend. As you can see on your screen, these are two local brands that are focusing on eco-friendly innovation in the recycling mechanism. Therefore, pakaian humus is actually an extension of current innovation. And there is no doubt that this is something that is realistic, considering there is already a similar platform. Next. The time bound. The way we achieve all of the goals that we already identified before are going to be separated into 3 time frames. First is in the short run. We are going to achieve this in 2023. And then the second development target is going to be achieved in the medium term or the middle term. That is going to happen in 2024 until 2026. And the last one is the long term. That is going to happen in 2027 until 2031. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, remember the obstacles and the problems that we've identified earlier. These are the 3-step solution that we can take. Number 1 is through a secured funding mechanism. For the establishment, we will cooperate with the Ministry of Education and also Creative Economy since they are providing a fund called Bantuan Insentif Pemerintah. There are also bank loans that are common to be assessed by our business platforms in our society. And then second of all, regarding the competition and the price, we could apply market segmentation on the basis of demographic, geographic, age, gender, fashion taste, socioeconomic status, and such. And lastly, other than that, the pricing problem can be tackled through a technique diversification. Technique diversification. And next one is, let's talk about the trend problem, right? In terms of trend problem, we could generate it by using a digital promotion as we are stepping in industrial revolution. So I think that the illustration would be like we are utilizing Google Analytics, we are utilizing the SEO marketing solution and stuff. And yeah, I think these solutions are going to directly solve the problem that are rising earlier. Next. Last part of my presentation, let's talk about the production step a little bit. As you can see on your screen, the production step or the work steps are going to be separated into four parts. The first one is the preparation and the identification of potential. Second of all, the production process. Third of all, the distribution and also the sale process. And lastly, the monitoring and the evaluation. From the preparation and also the identification of potential process, we are going to analyze which kind of producers or raw material producers that exist in our society. And also we are going to conduct the pre-producing promotion. And also we are going to conduct a market segmentation research. And also we are going to review whether or not our SAP has been in line with the green industry standard. This is going to happen on November 2021. And then it is going to be continued or followed by the production process that happens on somewhere in the middle of November until December on 2021. And then the next step is going to be the distribution process that is going to happen in the early January of 2023. And lastly, we are going to monitor and also evaluate the result by, ideally in every last month of the month and also during the last year of production, in every last year of the production of our pakaian humus. So yeah, next. Yeah, I think that is the end and that is all from my presentation. I'm going to close my presentation by asking you the same question that I asked earlier in my presentation. If pakaian humus and fashion is about identity, how would you see yourself? Would you think that you have been good for the environment, or have you been the devil for our environment? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Ricky. But you still have 2 minutes left. Do you want to waive your time or you want to add up something to your
I think
presentation?
we are good. We
Okay.
can waive it.
Okay, so you're going to waive the time. Okay, I stop the timer now. So without further ado, let's just begin our question and answer session with the judges. Maybe is there any judges that want to start giving the first question to Ricky? Maybe Mbak Iva? Please. Okay.
Maybe I want to ask a question for Ricky. Thank you very much, Ricky, for your presentation. Actually, this is really interesting ideas. This is so green, and it is will promote the sustainable development goals. But I have several questions for you. The green product usually have a higher price, higher cost to produce, right? And then it will makes the higher price too if you want to selling it. So my question is, if the green product, if this clothes is expensive, how you make sure that the price is suitable with Indonesian people who usually they even sometimes they think garment is like tertiary needs. So how do you compete with cheap garment from China? So that is my first question. Yeah. And the second is, what is the characteristic of the garment that humus produce? I mean, is it suitable with Indonesian weather? As you know that we have tropical weather, so do you think it is suitable with Indonesian weather? So that is my question.
Thank you. I think I can answer it right away. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Weva, for the questions. And I truly agree with your concern regarding the higher price. And yeah, I think to answer the first question regarding how do I compete with the cheap garments, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, the thing that we can do is that we can diversify the technique and in order to cater for the market segmentation. Like for example, if I already conducted like a research with several cloth producer in Banda Aceh, for instance. They said that every price is actually ranging from the variation of technique that is being used. So let's say like if variation A is being produced with a greater technique, then this is definitely going to cost much more. But it doesn't mean that the other aspects of technique cannot be explored. And I think that it is important for us to explore all of these techniques in order to create like the market segmentation, as I mentioned, because market segmentation also entails then understanding of our consumers' background. So that includes the socioeconomic status. And I think that another reason why this is, why natural raw material seems to be like more expensive, it is because there is still like a little market trajectory in it. And I think that as the time passes by, when a lot of producers and a lot of consumers have switched their preferences into like a much more eco-friendly materials, the price of the market is going to like decrease even more because there are more, there are more supplies, there are more demands in the market. And I think that is how we are going to like tackle this pricing problem on the very beginning. And then the second question regarding the suitability of the garment with the Indonesian weather, I think it also depends on the preferences of the purchasers. But I think if the concern is about the weather, I think we can use like a much more cold. How do I say this? Like a much more cold ingredients such as like the silk materials and also like a fiber that is made from the banana, the abaca banana, for example. I've already mentioned that in my naskah inti. So yeah, I think that is how we are going to cope with that problem.
Okay, thank you, Ricky, for your answer.
Thank you, Ibu.
Okay, Mbak Iva, maybe have a following question, or that's enough for you?
That's enough from me.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Iva, for the question. For the next session, I believe Mbak Tirta, are you okay to give a question to Ricky?
Okay, thank you, Angga. Thank you, Ricky, for the presentation. Yeah, I am agreeing with Mbak Iva. This is an interesting presentation and proposal because especially me as a woman, you know, we love shopping clothes, right? And I think this is an alternative to new shopping trends. I do have some follow-up questions though. First, this pakaian humus is made out of natural raw materials, if I'm not mistaken. So it's made of raw material, not made from unused materials.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's made from natural raw materials, following the questions from Ibu Iva previously concerning if this pakaian humus will make a trend and be popular in the next few years, and sales are increasing, demands are increasing, it means also that the needs for the raw materials also increases. Now, how would you explain the environmental impact? If we use environmental those natural materials, for example, because then you have to have more cotton trees, for example, okay, and maybe silk if it's natural raw materials. Okay, so how can you explain the sustainability, environment sustainability of that? Okay, that's maybe that's my first question first.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Butirta, for the question. Yeah, I truly agree that sustainability is highly important when we are producing anything that is from the environment. And how do I answer the sustainability? Definitely, this is going to be like a lot. This is going to involve a lot of like actors or stakeholders, not just like the brand of the pakaian humus, but it also involves like government. And I think that once this becomes like a trend, government could like step in by by making like a policy that tackle on the or that tackles the side of the sustainability of this. Like for instance, the raw material production doesn't happen to the extent of exploitation, and then like for example, every time like a brand is involving like the raw materials, the brand also needs to consider the process of the production as well, the like the transparency regarding how many natural raw materials that they are taking in. That is why like in my naskah inti, in the work steps, especially on the like last part of the work steps, we are also involving the analysis of how many like energy expenditure that we are already allocating for the production of pakaian humus, so that we can know the the relevancy between the amount of energy expenditures and also the amount of pakaian humus that is being produced, so that we can determine whether or not the brand has been exploitative of our nature.
Can I have a follow-up question? Yeah. So you said you're going to involve the government in like giving access and protection to the availability of the materials. In which stage do you think that you should do the engagement with the government? And you divide it into 3 steps, right? The short, long, and medium.
I think we can do it the most ideal one, we need to do it in the preparation and the identification of potential staff, because it is on the early of the production, so that it is better to prevent than to cure, right? But I think because advocating for like a policy and regulation takes a long time, so this is going to be a very long journey, and I don't think it would be there would be anything anything like super problematic if we are advocating it in the other work steps as well.
Okay, one last question from me. Who will be the target market of this pakaian humus?
Yeah, thank you, Ibu. I think the target of our market, first of all, would be people who are already interested in eco-friendly fashion. So we can start it from there. And then as the amount of the supplies and demands increase, we are going to start targeting for we are going to start aiming for people who are not yet aware of eco-friendly. And then we are also going to involve, I'm sorry, we are going to involve like so many analysis regarding socioeconomic status in our society as well, because just like you mentioned earlier, there is like price, there's like pricing problem. So I think that we can start from the one who can afford this on a more, let's say on a more expensive level first, and then as the time passes by, we can start catering to those who can afford it on a more moderate pricing. I think that's the answer.
Okay, thank you. That's enough from me, Angga.
Thank you, Ibu.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Tirta. Maybe for the next judges, Pak Aristio, Bang Aristio.
Right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, Ricky, thank you very much for the very interesting presentations. I really enjoyed your presentations. I have several questions here. When I first hearing your background, what you're telling about the consequences of waste, of garment, etc., I thought it's going to be like a big ideas on like a national policy in changing those kind of situations. But then when you come up with your ideas, for me, I think it's very much localized. I think it's like a very much a small industries that try to change the product, which is more sustainable, which is, I think it's really great. But I think in order to tackle like the problems that you mentioned earlier with all those statistics, I think you need more on like a national policy or national movement at least. You cannot like really address all the backgrounds that you address in the beginning by only having like a very small industry with, I don't know, maybe like 100 clothing selling per month, let's say, or per day. I think it's just a very small, right? So my questions would be, I think it's a really great ideas, but my question would be how you put it more in a national context so that it can address the challenge that you mentioned earlier. So that would be the first. So how can you put it in a national context so it can address the background that you say? Now, just a little bit follow-up questions from Mbak Tirta's questions about the role of government. I think if you want to make it in a national scale, I think government role is very much important, right? You cannot like really fight for with your own without involving government if you want to like make more sustainable, impactful. How do you think, what should the government do in order to help you, or which institutions or which part of the manufacturer that the government should do to provide or to help you in expanding this project into a national scale? And then the third question, just a very quick one. You mentioned there should be a funding, right, from the government, I suppose. In which stage? In which stage of funding? I think that would be my questions.
Thank you, Pak, for the question. So yeah, I'm going to answer it from the first one regarding how do I put it on the in the national context. I think that I believe that even UMKM or small medium enterprises have like somewhat of impacts. As we know, I don't think this is like an apple to apple comparison, but we can take it like with a grain of salt. Like for example, KFC, it is like started from a very small medium enterprise back then, but right now it is like worldwide. It is operating worldwide, and I think that it just shows that small medium enterprises have some kind of impact in our society. But yeah, to answer this more directly, I also think that in order for us to put it into a national context, we need to work in partnering, in our partnering. In my Naskah Inti, I already specified like several non-governmental organizations that we can work with. Like for example, the Canopy non-governmental organization that works on the protection of forestry, species, and also the climate action. We are also going to work with Eco Touch, for example, in terms of the, in terms of the packaging of our product and stuff. And also, aside from that, we are also going to like work with one of our stakeholders. One of our stakeholders is actually the chain of distribution. So ideally, we would hope that we could cooperate with like a bigger brand, or at least if we can't cooperate with the bigger brand, we are more than happy if the bigger brand can can see this trend and also can try to include it into their, for example, season, like seasonal innovation. And I think that is how we are going to put it in on a more national context. But the second one is regarding what should government do? I think it would be such a happen for every pakaian humus producer later if government can step in for the price regulation, because as we mentioned that the raw materials are like more expensive than the natural material, and I think that it would be such a problem in terms of the early production, because we need to have like a more initial capital. But however, this problem can be tackled by my answer for your third question. My answer for your third question regarding the funding. The funding from the government, like bantuan insentif pemerintah, can happen in the short-term funding. So it means that it happens for the establishment, during the establishment of the brand. So I think that all of these answers are connected to each other. Does that answer, Bang?
Thank you very much. Just a very quick questions, not a follow-up. In order to success in this 21st century for everything, I think is one of the most important factor is the utilizing of technology. Do you think of something or the role of technology in your project, and what would that be?
I'm sorry, Bang. My connection kind of distorted earlier. Can you repeat that question?
I think one of the key success for any project in this 21st century is the utilization of technology. Do you think, or what would be the role of technology, do you think, in your project to make sure that your project can be done effectively?
Yeah, thank you, Bang. I truly believe that technology plays an important or pivotal role in our project, because one of our ways to success is actually by infiltrating the trend in our society. And there's no better way of creating trend than utilizing the digital that we are already using. So I think that regarding the role of technology is actually very important. But how do we utilize that? As I mentioned, right now, digitalization also already like steps into the aspect of advertisement, and we are going to utilize that to the fullest. Like for example, we are going to utilize the Google Analytics, we are going to utilize the algorithm, we're going to utilize the the advertisement in prominent social media like Instagram or TikTok and stuff, and we are going to make sure that the amount of engagement of our consumers are going to be like more than the amount of than the other, than the amount of like engagement that the other brand, non-eco-friendly brand are getting. I think that is the answer.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak.
There's no question from Bang Tio again? No? All right. Okay, we're going to move on to the next judge. Adam, are you ready to file some questions to Ricky?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Bang Angga, for the opportunity. First of all, thank you, Ricky, for the comprehensive presentation. I really think it's a great idea. but I have a few questions. The first one, I'm kind of curious on why did you bring up this topic in the first place? Because if we look at the data from your presentation and also from your paper, the textile type of waste contributed like 6.4%, if I'm not mistaken, from 100%. So it's like the second or third lowest, if I'm not mistaken, that contributed to the environmental damage. So I'm kind of curious, first of all, maybe why did you bring up this topic and why does it interest you in the first place?
Okay. Thank you, Adam, for the question. I actually really love this. Maybe I can't really mention it earlier, but the reason why I chose this topic is because I see that there is a lack of, there is still a lack of discussion regarding this fashion, regarding the environmental aspect of all fashions. And I think we need to start from somewhere. We need to start somewhere, even though, just like you mentioned earlier, it has a very small presentation. But yeah, our goal is not just we want to create like a huge impact of environment, but we also want to create a holistic, holistic impact in our environment. So that is to say, right now, there are already so many movements that operate on the sustainability, on environment sustainability in terms of the plastic use, in terms of paper use and stuff like that. But there is still very little discussion regarding like fashion and how can we approach like the zero plastic use target that has been set by our Ministry of Environment and also Forestry if the fashion industry hasn't still been introduced with such mechanism or such innovation. But the second answer to that question is the existing mechanism of eco-friendly fashion hasn't still been working out yet, because as I already mentioned earlier, there are like 29 and 21% of adults and millennials that throw away their clothes after like wearing it for just like once and being bored with it. The existing mechanism is recycling or daur ulang mechanism, right? But the fact that there are still people who are not utilizing it, it just shows that the existing mechanism doesn't really operate well. So I think that my mechanism or my innovation would be like more direct in targeting the harm or the premise of the problem, because in pakaian humus doesn't work after the effect is being done. But pakaian humus is actually the preventive measure that we can take, so that at the end of the day, if people are still so apathetic in terms of not recycling their clothes, that would not be such a huge problem, because pakaian humus is biodegradable or can be claimed by the earth. Hope that answers.
Thank you, Ricky, for the answer. Moving on. I'm kind of concerned also about the price, as mentioned by Mbak Iva earlier. You said it before that one of the solution is by choosing the technique on how we make the clothing itself. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah. The second and third solution was regarding supply and demand and the government policies to make a ceiling price or some kind. But I really believe that the two options, the last one, the governmental policy and the supply and demand trend, it's a long step ahead. So what I want to ask you is, in the beginning where you want to initiate this trend, what can you do beside the technique of the clothing to adjust the price? That's the first one. And the second one is how close will the price be regarding to the technique applied? How does it affect the price? Does it affect the price dramatically that it could be almost the same with the other type of clothing, or how do you see that? Because I didn't see it in your paper and presentation about the trajectory on the price itself affected by the technique applied on the how to make the clothing. I hope you can get my questions.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Yeah, I I totally got your question. Regarding the first one is what can we do in the early step considering the other solutions take a very long time? I think on the early step, we can use, again, we can use like the market segmentation. We need to understand like which sector of market that we want to appeal to first, and then we are going to go from there. But aside from that, I also think that, when we are doing or when we are creating a product, we also need to consider like the partnership, as I already mentioned earlier. So I think that through that partnership, we can actually appeal to a cheaper or at least a more friendly process of production for the producer. But the second would be how the technique affects the price. I think that technique plays an important role. As you probably know, like there are so many big brands from artists that that takes a very, or that puts a very high price when they are marketing their product. And one of the reasons is because of the time or the amount of time, and also the technique that they use. Like for example, the technique like, I don't know, like I don't know how to say this, but like for example, the fabric that is going to be tucked in instead of tucked out, it is going to be more, let's say, like more tidy, for instance. And I think that is how it affects the price. Because right now, if you like take like a comparison, even the raw natural materials or natural raw materials, there are so many accessible natural raw materials. So I think that we just need to work on the technique in order to know, like, for instance, if you're marketing it to segment A of society with a lower socioeconomic status, then we need to adjust the technique. And then if we market it to the one who is in the higher level or status of socioeconomic status, then we can use a better technique. And I think the morality behind this is also unquestionable, because this is something that every product has always been doing, like, which is like product diversification.
Okay. Thank you, Ricky, for the answer. Maybe last question from me is, if it's allowed, because we don't have much time. As I see in your paper and also in your presentation, this solution really depends on whether your solution can become a trend or not. Am I correct? Yeah. First of all, what are the steps that are you going to take to make sure that it can become a trend? Because I see that in your presentation and in your paper, it really depends on the society's realization of the impact of the clothing waste to the environmental damage. So yeah, how are you gonna, first, what steps are you going to take? And second of all, if it depends on the realization of the society, what are you going to do to make the society realize that clothing waste, textile waste can have a huge impact to the environment, so they choose to apply your solution? Maybe that's the last question for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. So yeah, about the first question, I mean, regarding the how do we make the trend? I think that this is like super marketing based kind of problems. We can like utilize so many marketing theory, like for instance, the theory that says that we need to make people aware, and then after people are aware, people need to buy our product and stuff. And yeah, aside from that, as I already answered in Paktio's question, regarding the technology, we also can utilize technology in terms of generating the trend, like Google Analytics, and also like so many SEO marketing thing that we can do with that as well. So yeah, I think maybe in a sense it does rely on the trend, but I think on the other hand, it also relies more on the awareness of the society. And I think that based on the research that I already conducted before, and also that I already got from so many, from many research studies, there is like a green light for this production, and that is why it can be a trend. But regarding the second question, I'm sorry, I think the second question was kind of cut off. Can you like repeat it one more time?
Yeah, the second question was if your solution has to become a trend. And as I see on your paper and presentation, it really depends on the awareness of the society. then how do you build up that awareness so that your solution can be applied to the society itself?
Yeah. How do we build up that awareness? Is definitely by utilizing like the marketing, again, by the marketing aspect of it. We need to say that we need to say that this cloth is like much better than the non-eco-friendly cloth and stuff. And aside from that, we also can utilize like the concept that I already introduced earlier, which is like fashion as a self-concept or self-identity. This can be like, for example, we can put a more exposure or more light on the idea that when you are wearing a shirt, it is not just a piece of fabric, but it is also reflecting who you are, for instance. And I think that a lot of society would want to be reflected as a good person. So that is why awareness can exist since the beginning.
Okay, thank you so much, Ricky, for the answers. Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam.
Okay, thank you, Adam, for the questions. To Ricky, judges, we still have like 10 seconds to ask, but I believe that's won't possible to ask another question. So the question and answer session has elapsed. Thank you, Ricky, for the presentation. It was excellent. And everyone, please give applause to Ricky for today's presentation. Okay, Ricky. You have done this session, the English session. You can wait or you can watch your friends, another panelists in doing the presentation here. Okay, it's up to you. For the next finalist, I believe Evelyn. Is Evelyn already here? Hello, Evelyn. Can you hear me?
Hello, Bang Angga.
Yes.
Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yeah, clearly. So maybe you can do a technical check, like share screen and everything.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to try to share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Is my screen visible right now, Bang?
Not yet. It's still loading.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, it's visible right now, but I believe there's a bit of stutter.
All right.
Okay, can you move to the next slide to test? Okay. Okay. Right. So, Evelyn, I'm going to tell you about the rules for today's session. We're going to have an English presentation session. Like before, we're going to have 15 minutes for your time in presenting. And after that, we're going to have a 30 minutes question and answer session. The difference between the Indonesian session and the English session is the cues. I only give you a cues for the last 5 minutes and 1 minute. So there's only 2 cues, okay? Any questions?
That's clear enough, Bang.
Okay, that's clear. So without further ado, I believe you can start your presentation 15 minutes from now. Start.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Good morning, all the judges, committee, and friends who are able to come to today's agenda in Pemilihan Mahasiswa Berprestasi Fakultas Hukum Universitas Indonesia 2022. My name is Evelyn Jovanka Bandi from Faculty of Law Batch 2019. And first and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity that has been given for me to present my idea in the title of Integrated One-Stop Solution, Strategy to Accelerate Development and Legal Protection for Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises in Indonesia. In this opportunity, I would like to explain about 5 important things, which is the first one is about the background of the topic chosen. Secondly, about the urgencies of the issues. Thirdly, about the solution and its detailed main features. Fourthly, about the stakeholder analysis. And last but not least, I would like to also explain regarding to the feasibility plan and implementation plan of the solution. But before we deep dive into the main features, I would like to explain why I choose MSMEs owners as a target of this solution. As we know that MSMEs give a big and huge and significant contribution to Indonesian economy that can be shown by the number of MSMEs in Indonesia that reach the number of 64.19 million. And it also dominates Indonesian enterprises in the ratio of 99.9%. In 2019, it makes the MSME's contribution rate towards our economy reach the number of 8.6 trillion rupiah. We can see here that MSMEs give a big participation towards our gross domestic product, or GDP. And in 2019, the participation rate of MSMEs towards our GDP reached the number of 61.97%. Nevertheless, there are several problems that are still experienced by MSMEs owners in carrying out their business activities. Some of the business owners feel that they need a service that can help them to determine their business activities, especially those which can provide licensing assistance and legal consultation easily for all people. But what are the barriers experienced by MSMEs owners? We can see here that out of 64.90 million of MSMEs owners, there are only 19% of MSMEs have been digitized. We can see here that there are still many ratios. There are still 81% of MSMEs that are still not digitized and cannot access to legal assistance or legal service. Then this is why we see that this problem is really urgent to be solved in the current status quo. But what are the challenges that the MSMEs face in terms of this solution? The first one, there are uneven access to legal services that can be used. Secondly, MSMEs owners have no access to one-stop integrated application that makes the process become easier. Thirdly, legal services are still inaccessible for common people. And fourthly, socialization regarding legal services has not been evenly distributed to all regions in Indonesia. However, have we ever asked why we have to solve this problem in these two important things? The first one, why should the solution be in the form of legal assistance? And secondly, why should the solution be implemented through application? And these two questions will be the foundation for me to prove my burden of proof in proving why the first one is legal assistance that we should provide to the society. And secondly, why the solution should be implemented through technology, especially through application. The first one, in explaining about the burden of proof of why should legal services be provided, we have to see that the state have the commitment to responsibility regarding these three important things. The first one, the state have to ensure that the basic obligation of the state is protecting the people's economy that is stated under the Article 33, Paragraph 1 of the 1945 Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia. Secondly, MSMEs activities require an easy access in the licensing and legal procedure, as stated under the Article 12 of Law Number 20 of 28 concerning micro, small, and medium enterprises. And thirdly, state also has obligation to provide simple, easy, and accessible licensing access and services for all under the Article 38, Paragraph 2, Government Regulation Number 17 of 2013. And then, what are the concrete implementation plan of this problem? The first one is creating legal services that help the people's economy. Secondly, simplifies licensing process and provide legal services. And thirdly, creating legal services that are simple, easy, and accessible for all. And then after proving the first burden of proof, the second question arises. Why is the solution conceived in the form of application? In formulating a policy, we have to consider several important factors. The first one is the geographical factor. We see that we have to make sure that the distribution of information and service is evenly distributed to all regions. Why? Because MSMEs owners spread throughout Indonesia must receive services evenly and simultaneously, not only in Java-centric. Secondly, regarding to the sociological factor, because we have to know that different communities have different society behavior in terms of receiving information, especially regarding to the MSMEs business owners. And thirdly, regarding to the accessibility factor, we have to make sure that the ease of access, information, and solution that are accessible for the target. So we have to make sure that the accessibility of the community to access service easily does not require any and lots of expenditure and effort for mobility purposes. Then what are the concrete solutions for these three problems? First one, creating application that can reach the whole community. Secondly, creating application that can educate and empower. Thirdly, creating a one-stop unified app so that can get the service all at once. So in conclusion, what can we do to help there? There are three important things that we can do to help them. Firstly, to provide easy licensing access. Secondly, and provide legal consultation services. And thirdly, access to legal aid. And this is why our solution, which is the integrated one-stop solution, is here to provide a solution, an integrated application to solve those three main problems. Through our three main features inside one application, we believe that this application can make an easy access to your legal service. Why? Because we have three main important features here. The first one is feature, license feature. Secondly is the consult feature. And thirdly is assistant feature. In this presentation, I'm not going to only explain theoretically about my solution, but here I have already prepared a prototype and a mock design to explain to all the judges and committee here that this service is attainable, and we can see the user experience and user interface that later on the MSMEs owners can use and easily in this application. The first one, when you sign up into this application, you will see the MSME owner profile dashboard. For example, here in the right side, you can see that Pak Budi Suhardi, who lives in Kabupaten Malang, Jawa Timur, can fill several information about their business activities. The first one is like the licensing status. Secondly, about the information of their business. And thirdly, about the business profile. For example, like their fields, especially regarding to, for example, culinary, or maybe crafting, or maybe regarding to agribusiness. Secondly, about the amount of the employee. And thirdly, about the average profit of their business. Why? Because we see here that sometimes MSME owners do not record in detail their business activities. This can cause MSME owner not to know what options that they have in doing business, as well as any provisions that apply to this form of business itself. So there are two benefits of the user profile feature. The first one, we can help the MSMEs owners to know the category and condition of their business. And secondly, the consultant later on can provide advice according to the MSME's conditions. Secondly, we can see here that we have licensing application or licensing features. Here in the right side, you can see that we have several recommendations and several services that can be accessed by the MSMEs owners. For example, like in the form of the licensing, the procedure, and we can have an online registration as well. Why? Because we see that licensing process is complicated, time-consuming, and not accessible for all. Not all people have access to information about the requirements, about the procedure, or even the forms of licensing itself in an easy, fast, and efficient way. Therefore, there are two benefits of these features. The first one, educating MSMEs owners regarding licensing form and procedure. And secondly, making licensing procedure become easier, more efficient, and faster. Secondly, we have consult. Our second feature will provide the MSMEs owner with the access to have a consultation with the legal consultant that will be provided into the application. As you can see in the right side, we're not only giving any recommendation towards the information that they can reach, but they can also have a specific consultation session with the legal consultant that can be accessed into message form or through call. So here there are several lawyers that are available and online and can be reached by the MSMEs owners. Why? Because we see that MSMEs owners sometimes do not know the options for business activities that can be carried out and their respective consequences. For example, like to make a legal contract. For example, like to export a product and how are the procedure, or for example, to make a cooperation with the other business, or sometimes to register their brand. So the benefit of the consult feature are two. Firstly, consultant can help direct MSMEs owner, and secondly, MSME owner consult first before taking actions. And last feature that is provided through application is assistant. We see here that not all MSMEs owners can easily access to legal aid. When a problem occurs, MSME owners do not have a platform to ask legal opinions, what legal action to take, and to easily access legal assistance or legal aid. That's why we see here that there are two benefits of assistant feature. The first one, helping MSMEs owners in solving legal problems, and secondly, connecting MSMEs owners with experienced legal consultant. After knowing each detail of the explanation regarding to our feature, we see here that the target market is very big. So the question arises is how big is the target that will benefit from this solution? We can see here that are three layers that I present to you right now, which is the first layer is the number of MSMEs in Indonesia. Second layer is the number of MSMEs that have not been digitalized. And the third layer is basically the number that we're going to actually implement the solution. So the orange one shows the number of MSMEs target in the first development period that will be conducted in 2 early years. Why? Because we all know that in implementing a solution and in making a new initiative, it should be realistic, especially in making sure that all the target can be achieved. So here, I have already set the MSMEs criteria that will be prioritized in the first application development period. The first one, the MSMEs that have been not digitized. Secondly, MSMEs that do not have a business license. And thirdly, MSMEs who have a business in more than 2 years. So here, I believe that through this solution, especially in the first development program, we can know what are the challenges and how to evaluate that to achieve our SDGs point 8, which is the decent work and economic growth, and especially indicator 8.3. So next, we will talk about the stakeholder analysis. Who will run the solution? Because we, of course, need a good stakeholder in implementing the solution. There are three main stakeholders that can run the solution. The first one is central government that will be responsible in synergizing the regulation and policy making at the central level that will be helped by Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM, especially under the Deputy Bidang Usaha Kecil dan Menengah and other supporting ministry like Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Trade. Second level is the local government that will be in charge in making regulations at the regional level and institutions that carry out the direct supervision that will be implemented under Dinas Koperasi dan UMKM Provinsi, Dinas Koperasi dan UMKM Kabupaten, and Dinas Koperasi and UMKM Kota. Thirdly is the main actors that will be directly involved in the application itself. The first one is the legal consultant or practitioners that will be the facilitator of the application itself. Secondly is the application developer in the form of engineer. And last but not least is our target, which is the society and MSMEs owners. So how much impact does this solution have? There are three important impacts. The first one, MSMEs are registered and protected. Secondly, MSMEs can know their growing business strategy. And last but not least, the realization of policies that bring benefits and legal certainty to all. And last but not least, I would like to also explain regarding to the SMART framework analysis to know how feasible is this solution. The first one is specific. The targets are very clear and specific. That is MSMEs actors. Secondly, measurable. The implementation of this application can be ensured under the ministries and local agency and region. Thirdly, attainable. This idea can be realized with institutional support, allocations of funds and human resources under the Kementerian Koperasi and UKM. Fourthly, it's relevant because it is achieving Indonesia's target towards the 8 SDGs. And lastly, it is time-bound because it will be realized before 2030 with the first development year mechanism under 2 years. So I believe through this solution, with the 3 features inside one application, it can make your easy access to your legal service with the integrated one-stop solution. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Your time has elapsed. Okay. So very sorry for the time restraints because we have to be strict about it. So the next session, we're going to have a question and answer session with the judges. But before that, maybe I got some question in the YouTube broadcast. So this show, no, not really. This event is actually being broadcast by YouTube FHUI. The official YouTube of Faculty of Law Universitas Indonesia, and one of the commenter said that they want to know who is the judges for today's session. So maybe I want to introduce the judges first before that. First, we have Mbak Tirta ya. Mbak Tirta is from the Department of Law, Society and Development, Faculty of Law, Universitas Indonesia. And after that, we're the next judges is Mbak Iva Karimah from the Department of Islamic and Adat Law. And after that, we have Bang Aristio Rizka Darmawan from the Department of International Law. And then we have Adam Putra Firdaus from BEM ya, Adam ya. The chairman, the ketua BEM, executive body of Faculty of Law student, Universitas Indonesia. So, okay, that's for the introduction of the judges. Maybe we're going to have a question and answer session with the judges right now. So maybe, is there any judges that want to ask a question to Evelyn? No? Okay. Mas Aristio is volunteering himself to give the first question.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Evelyn, for the presentation, which I found very interesting. With all the technology things, I have several questions. I think you're right in thinking about the role of technology in the future of legal service, so to speak, because I think the world trend shows legal lawyers are going to be replaced by technology and etc. etc. But when I heard about your project, at first I thought it's going to be like a private companies or private applications like Gojek or something, right? Because it's like sounds very dynamic, sounds very like helpful, etc. etc. But at the end, you say it's going to be give to the government, and the government is going to be run that project. I still like thinking about how can you connect these kind of applications and then you just give it to the government, because government usually they have like a bureaucracy in creating such an applications. I'm not very sure whether they can just like receive an applications given by a company or they just like run it, like they usually develop it by their own with their own bureaucracy, etc. So like, do you think it's going to be applicable for you to develop such an applications and then you just give it to the government and let them run it the whole process? They're going to be the first questions. And the second question is it already exist, or you just like is it already exist or not? Because you show the picture as if that it's already exists, like you can click this one, etc. etc. So is it already exist or no? It's just like a quick questions. And then because I think it's involved a lot of stakeholders. Like you gave the presentation about who would be the stakeholders. That would be going to be lawyers who give the advice. There's going to be the government persons who give like issues, license, etc. So how you connect these a lot of stakeholders? Because if you talk about lawyers, they will ask fee, right? For advice, etc. etc. So do you think it can really help them when they ask like for like a fees? And then the third question is that I think there's already several companies similar with this. Yeah, if you ever heard of LegalGo, or even my colleague have like some sort of like an applications Bantu Business School, like to help like small and medium enterprise to give like licensing or legal advice, etc. So how's your project differs from those existing applications or firms that is also involving technology in helping small and medium enterprise? So I think that's going to be my first three questions.
Thank you very much, Bang Tio, for the question. So I'd like to answer the first question first regarding to why does the solution is not implemented into the private project, right? Why is it gifted to the government, and how can we connect the solution into the government itself? So as I have done the research itself, I have found that the problem statement of this whole situation is basically not in the form of the technology that is still not existed or everything, but it's the main premise of the solution is regarding to the access itself, regarding to the accessibility of the service itself. And I have seen that the problem statement that is mainly solved by this problem is regarding to that access. maybe we have already know that there are several competitors regarding to the solution, maybe regarding to other startup or maybe other private companies that have already made this solution. But the most important things is regarding two aspects. The first one is the accessibility of the information, and secondly is the accessibility in terms of the material itself, in terms of like accessing and like buying and also like paying the fees and also paying several things there. And we see here that if we put it into the private company and make it into like a startup, like for example Gojek or namely another startup, we see here that the framework in developing a startup is very different comparing to the government intention. Why? Because in developing a startup, we need to know like how can this solution be in ROI or return on investment? How can this solution be feasible to be implemented in such a very short period, but it's also very profitable? And thirdly, we have to also consider that a startup requires a venture capital or like the company that support their capital. So it's not like some solution that can be implemented in a very long time and like analyzing the problems and stuff, but it's very, very profit oriented, and maybe it's kind of very, very fast paced and dynamic, which I think is very not feasible to be implemented in this kind of solution. Why? Because the first one, the MSMEs owners cannot access the not affordable service, because if we put it into under the startup or under the private companies, of course, it will be very, very heavy on the fee side, on the material side, because we have to make sure that this will be ROI, this will be the valuation of the profit or the business model will be profitable for the company itself. So I think if our intention is to help the society, it is not very feasible to make it under the startup or under the private entities itself. So that's why I want to make these technologies will be supervised under the government. But the second question arises, is it already exists or not? And because here I have already shown the pictures, so I will answer it that this solution is not exists right now. And the design and the prototype that I've shown into my presentation is mainly made by myself. So I designed my own presentation in the form of the prototype itself regarding to the solution to make all the judges here and also all the friends here who watch this understand about the user interface and user experience of the application itself. Because here, I don't want to make a very theoretical, like presentation, but I want to also show that this solution can also still be very implemented and very implementable if it can be shown by several pictures that shown its features itself. But the third question arrives. So how can this solution involve a lot of stakeholders? How can we connect these stakeholders, especially under the government itself, right? So even though we have already know that many startups there have already made this kind of solution in terms of like providing licensing maybe, or like providing legal consultant, but there are true problems that is still not answered. The first one is the integrated one-stop solution itself, because we see here that the solution that those legal provider provide is very scattered. So sometimes we can see here that one application only provide for licensing, one application only provide for assistance, one application only provide for legal aid. So there isn't any like one-stop solution or like integrated application that connects all. For example, if we go to HelloDoc or we go to Gojek, we can access all informations. And the reason why HelloDoc or Gojek is very success is because they provide all service for all. Because we have to know the market behavior and the society characteristic as well. Not all Indonesian people can have an access or like can have a capability to access multiple applications at once, but they prefer to use one applications that can provide their needs and their basic habits. So that's why here I see that the same pattern can be implemented through this legal application. So if we combine those three features into one application, I believe that it can motivate and it can also make people can be interested in using this application. But secondly, regarding to the how we can connect it with the stakeholder, is it feasible? I guess it's very feasible because as per right now, Kementerian Koperasi and UKM have already developed a system, which is called Padi UMKM. So Padi UMKM is actually a Pasar Digital UMKM. So it is a e-commerce or a marketplace that the Kementerian Koperasi and UMKM initiate in order to help the MSMEs in the regions and all nations to develop their business regarding to their trade and transactions. But here, the solution that the Kementerian Koperasi and UMKM made is as per for the trade and as per for the business side itself. And regarding to the marketplace, right? But there isn't still any legal services or like any help and assistance that can help the MSMEs owners in dealing with the legal service. So here I see that because there are already have a benchmark regarding the Padi UMKM itself that is already developed under the Kementerian Koperasi and UMKM, of course, using the APBN and especially to implement it in region, they use dana alokasi khusus. I say that here it is still feasible for us to make a new application. And as per 2020, Kementerian Koperasi UMKM allocate bigger budget for MSMEs, especially after and during the pandemic itself. So I believe that this application can be implemented under the Kementerian itself. And because my original intention is to provide an easy access for all, and of course to develop people's economy, I guess that the suitable intention is to still implement it under the government, not under the private entities itself. I guess that's my answer towards your question.
We still have time. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we still have 20 minutes, but we still have 3 judges. So maybe Bang Tio, if you want to have additional question, we can do it at the end. Okay. The next judges, maybe Mbak Tirta. I see Mbak Tirta is very eager to ask question to Evelyn.
Thank you, Mas Angga. I have a follow-up questions from Mas Tio's previous questions regarding the scale of the application. So it's going to be a national scale and a government run application, if I'm not mistaken. However, if it's going to be a government run application, not a private run application, you will have to have a coordination between all the ministries that are responsible for giving those services in the application. Now, from Indonesia's experiences, I think we have big problem in the coordination between the ministries in Indonesia. For example, I have concern in the migrant workers sectors. We have the Ministry of Labor, and then the BP2PMI, and then other stakeholders, and they don't work together. Okay, so how will you make sure that these ministries can work together in managing this application, even though you said that it will be under the coordination of the cooperative ministry, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so how can you ensure that this application will work well with the coordination of those stakeholders? And secondly, again, I'm emphasizing on the current services that have been provided by the government or private sectors, like the government Ministry of Investment have already installed a system online application for businesses permits, for example. Now, if you are to have another application, then you will have to deconstruct what has been installed in all those ministries and make it into one stop service like you proposed. Okay, so what do you think is the biggest challenge in doing that? Because it is already present, even though it is scattered in many ministries, for example, in many stakeholders. What do you think is the biggest challenge? And thirdly, there are also many issues regarding the small scale, medium enterprises, not only on the establishment, licensing, consulting, on the enterprises itself, but also in the workers of the enterprises. Okay, many work violations. When you quoted the 8 SDGs on decent work, meaning also it involves also the workers of the enterprises. How are they, or are they going to be also protected by this application also? I think that is all my questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Mbak Tirta. All right, I'm going to answer the first question first regarding to the national skill application, how to coordinate between these ministries in terms of implementing the solution. I see here that we already have a huge benchmark that we see that this initiative is successful only less than 2 years, which is the Peduli Lindungi application. Peduli Lindungi application was launched very fastly after the COVID-19 pandemic arise in 2020. So after the March of 2020, which was the first case of the COVID-19 appears until the September, it only took like around 5 until 6 months to develop the application and also to coordinate with all ministries to basically run this application in terms of like ministries of health and also ministries of information and technology, right? And in this by this being said, it doesn't really unrealistic for us to actually implement this kind of solution and also coordinate it with the other ministries, maybe with the same work ethic, with the same timeline and the project scheme. We see that this is still very feasible. Because why? Because I think that actually the Kementerian Koperasi and UMKM itself have already has several attempts and experience in terms of developing an application. And I see that from this experience, they can also evaluate from that, and they can also know like the boundaries or like the challenges or maybe several things that they can experience, they can evaluate in order to make this application run easier. And secondly, I see here that the Kementerian Koperasi and UMKM also have a very tight relations with the Kementerian Keuangan or Ministries of Finance, Ministries of Trade, and also the Ministries of Investment here. So I can see that under the same umbrella, under the same Kementerian Koordinasi, this can be implemented and this can also be coordinated well, because under this ministry, this solution and this application also can be well implemented. If we have like the specific project timeline, we have the specific KPI or the key performance indicator that we were going to achieve, and we have several important scheme for each development period. So in order to make this application become feasible and implementable, I think it's very important to make a project-based timeline for developing and implementing the solution itself, instead of making it like in a very long-term period. So we can set a deadline, or we can set like the period for them to actually finish this development, or to start launching the application, or to start to test the application itself. So with that being said, that the coordination of the ministries is actually can be really well implemented if they have a specific and suitable scheme that can be implemented. And secondly, regarding the question, if we stall this application, then we have to integrate it with the other application that have already existed at the very first place. And what are the biggest challenges for it? I think it's in the 3 sectors. The first one is actually to make the application can be integrated. For example, regarding to the previous licensing application, we have to make sure that the previous licensing application have a integrated and synergized data database regarding to the new application. So we have to make sure that the input of the new data in this application can be also synchronized with the previous application, with the previous database that the ministries have already had. I guess that's the first challenge. The second challenge will be on the implementation scheme, because on the implementation scheme itself, we only not to make sure that this application can run, but also the socialization of the application itself towards the society, which I guess I think it can be implementable under every region agency. For example, like Dinas Koperasi UMKM in the region. So it's not only the responsibility for the central government, but also the local government to make sure that they have an internalization and socialization method for the society to know that this application exists. And the third one is to make sure that the MSMEs owners that is still not detectable and identified can also access this information, because we can see that 64.19 million of MSMEs is basically the MSMEs that is recorded, but we cannot identify like any other MSMEs that still not registered themselves or they're still not identified. So our third biggest challenge is to identify them and to detect them with this new application. And the third question is regarding to the worker issues. How are they going to be also protected? Yes, we will going to protect the workers, because one of the main features, one of the main problems that the worker experience under the MSMEs is sometimes MSMEs doesn't know that there are several restrictions in the terms of employee amount in their business. For example, for usaha mikro is according to like 1 until 10 workers, for example. For usaha kecil, it is 10 until 50 workers. Not all the business owners knows about that. And I guess it is also implies to their salary. It is implies to also their working hours. It is implied to also their rights. And because it is not detectable, we as the government, as my research done, we have no data regarding to this UMKM have how many employee, or this UMKM have how many employee. And if we detect it with this application through the profile dashboard, I guess it will also protect the rights of the workers itself, because we can identify that this business, for example, this UMKM have too many employees, but they only give them this small amount of salary. Or for example, the amount and the ratio of their employee is not equal with their ratio of profit. So it can indicate that basically their profit is not really enough to cover up the salary of the employee itself. And that's why maybe the government can also see and identify the problem with that, and it can also protect the workers from underpaid salary or maybe underpaid work itself. I guess that's my answer, and thank you very much for the question, Mbak Tirta.
Okay, Mbak Tirta, there's no question, so I can.
Enough. I will let the other judges convey their questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So Adam or Mbak Iva? Oh, Mbak Iva, okay.
Thank you, Angga. This is very excellent presentation, Evelyn, I think, because you provide mock-up application and so on and so on. But maybe I just want to add a follow-up question regarding the challenge that you explained before about how to reach MSME sectors. As you already said, that only 19% of MSMEs has been digitized. So maybe that's because a lot of them cannot have access to smartphone or technology, or not really a high-tech person, or maybe because there are too much application, as Mbak Tirta mentioned before. So what's your strategy to make sure that this application will be useful for those who need it? How to reach the unreachable? Thank you very much, Evelyn.
Thank you very much, Baifa, for the question. I think it's a very excellent question that leads me into explaining the problem statement and the root cause of the problem itself. So as we know right now in Indonesia, as per 2020, the ratio of the internet users and the cell phone users in Indonesia reached the number of 197 million. So it's basically almost dominates all the amounts of citizens in Indonesia. So as I've done the research before, I found out that the root cause, or like the main problem, is basically not in the smartphone or the access of the internet itself, because actually people who have UMKM most of them, the pattern itself, they have internet and also the usage of the smartphone itself. But the main cause or like the root problem is basically not in the internet or like the handphone usage and ratio itself, but it's more to like the socialization of the regulation and policies that has been done by the government. For example, if we talk about the offline mechanism that is already provided by the government right now under the Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM actually have already had several initiatives offline. For example, like doing training offline, doing training live and directly towards the MSMEs owners, and the ratio of the participation is actually very, very low. Why? Because it cannot reach like all the MSMEs, because it also can be challenged by the amount of the budget, maybe amount of the reachability, accessibility, and also the geographical condition, right? And secondly, actually, it's not because the MSMEs owners doesn't have any internet or like the phone access, but because the socialization regarding to any policies, for example, regarding to any licensing or maybe any new programs from the local government is not very, very accessible for all the MSMEs owners, because it is still very, very conventional. Like they use like a direct talk and a direct socialization that requires them to do lots of mobilization, lots of expenditure to basically access the transportation itself. For example, if I'm a business owner in Kediri, Jawa Timur, for example, I have to go to the office of the Dinas Koperasi and UMKM, or at least I have to go to the Kepala Desa, or maybe to go to the Balai Desa itself to access the information. Meanwhile, if we see that we have this application, of course, instead of like coming and also instead of like like accessing the information regarding to this program offline and have to mobilize and have to also access transportation, it's very easy and also easier for us to actually insert it in our handphone or in our internet itself by ourselves, because not only it is easier, not only it is accessible, but also really time efficient itself. So I guess that the problem that can be solved by this application is not regarding to the reachability and accessibility of the internet or phone, but it's more to like the problem that the MSMEs owners feels in the distribution of the information that is still not evenly distributed. And then regarding to the conventionality of the program or like the socialization method that the region institutions still do at right now. And thirdly, it is still regarding to the inaccessibility of the information itself, Mbak Iva. So I guess this kind of thing, this kind of socialization, accessibility, and maybe the challenges in terms of mobilization and accessing the transportation for going like offline can be solved by an application that is affordable, easy, and fast, and also like accessible for all.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Iva, for the question. The last one, Adam, we still have 3 minutes and 40 seconds, so please be mindful. I'm very sorry for the time constraints.
First of all, thank you, Evelyn, for the presentation. I really think it's a concrete solution. But I have a couple of questions, maybe just simple ones. First of all, I see in the paper that you brought up why you brought up this solution is because one, the pandemic, and second, the status quo, where there's no one-stop solution. My question is, what's exactly really wrong for the status quo that you have to launch a one-stop application for this problem? Because maybe as an UMKM owner, maybe that's all I know until now. If I want legal aid, I go here. If I want to consult about some legal problems, I go here. And also about the licensing, I go here. That's all I know since I began my my UMKM. So what I want to ask is first, what's wrong with the status quo that you think it's a very urgent problem to be solved? And the second one is, how do you ensure all the parties related to participate in your solution? Let's say I'm a legal practitioner. What benefit for me to join your application and to participate in your solution. What do I get and what's in it for me? And as an UMKM owner, what's in it for me? And also for the government, why do I have to help you? Maybe that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam, for the question. I would like to answer the first one about what exactly is wrong from the status quo itself. So here, I would like to tell maybe several interviews that I've done with previous MSMEs, and because this interview is basically one of the reasons I also bring up this topic as well. So what is really wrong with the status quo? There are two reasons. The first one is basically regarding to the accessibility that maybe I have prolonged and present that before, and I have talked about it previous time before. So the first one is regarding to the accessibility. People feel like it's very, very frightening for them to access for legal aid because legal fields, legal industry seems like something that is not affordable for all. People do really have a stereotype towards legal industries that is quite not affordable, that is very, very high, and they are afraid to access it because they have a constraint in terms of the budget itself, in terms of the material itself, and the financial scheme itself, Adam. So I see here that because people have a stereotype regarding to that, it's very important for us to frame the legal industry, so like the legal assistance and legal consultation sets up into some form of the things or some form of service that is still and that is still accessible for all. And it seems like it's pretty easy to actually access that. For example, previously it's very, very hard for us to go to doctor because we feel afraid if we identified our health and everything, and maybe have to pay a lot of money. But we have HelloDoc that only pays like, for example, like only like 50,000 rupiah to identify our health. It makes the situation and the stereotype become disappear. So that's what I want to do with the first one. And secondly, people really think that going into a legal assistant or seeking for legal aid is extra things to do. It's a very big thing to do because people really think that if I go to lawyers, then I have a legal problem. That's why. And by making it into application, I think it can frame people that basically seeking for legal advice is not something wrong. It's not something that is very extra. It's not something that is very, very overreacting. No, because people, everyone deserve to access an equal access to law and legal services. And of course, accessible legal services. And how to ensure that all parties involved here, I think we have already a benchmark in Hukum Online or maybe HelloDoc, where there are profit-based sharing between the owners of the application and also the mitra itself, that or the partners who want to work part-timely inside the application or who wants to work full-timely in the application. Regarding to the financial scheme and regarding to the financial plan and how the profit-based sharing will be implemented, I think it will be on another discussion, and it will be on a further development, Adam, regarding the profit share based sharing itself. But I'm sure that it still can be implemented to make sure that both of the supply and demand, both of the actors can feel like they need each other and they can contribute each other. They can contribute as well to actually solve this problem at hand. I guess that's my answer towards your question because of a time constraint. Thank you.
Okay, I believe the time has elapsed. I'm very sorry for the judges because we have to be strict in the time because of the time constraints. We cannot continue the question and answer session. So this would mark the end of Elaine session in the English presentation session. So everyone, please give an applause to Evelyn. Okay, Evelyn. So after this, you can watch your friends, fellow finalists in doing presentation, or if you have class or anything, you can left the Zoom meeting. Okay, thank you very much. That was an excellent presentation, Evelyn.
Thank you very much, Bang Angga, and all the judges. I will leave the Zoom. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Okay, have a good day to you too. Right, we're going to have the next session. Elaine, is it? Elaine will be doing the presentation offline in the Depok campus of Faculty of Law. So she might need a bit of preparation. Okay. Okay, Elaine? Not yet. You need to turn on your microphone. Press it a bit longer.
Wait, is it on now?
Yeah. Okay, you have a full control of your presentation?
Oh, let me try it first. All right, all
Okay.
good.
Okay, all good. Then is
Let
it
me arrange my paper for a while.
right? Okay. Okay. All the preparation have been completed. So before we're going to have your presentation, I'm going to review again the rules in this English presentation. So like the Indonesian presentation, you will have 15 minutes of time to present your materials. And after that, you're going to have a 30 minutes of question and answer session. The difference between the Indonesian and the English one is the cues. I'm going to give you the cues in the last 5 minutes and 1 minute. Okay.
Alright.
So there's no cues for 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Without further ado, I believe it's better that we start your presentation. Elaine, please present your presentation 15 minutes from now.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Warm greetings for everyone. Praise be to God for we are able to have this academical discussion here. And praise be to God for each of us are having our own roles here. The lecturer are employed by the Faculty of Law, University of Indonesia to teach us and share their knowledge with us. And us, me and probably Adam in the panel of judges, as the students who are lucky enough to receive our tertiary education. But not everyone is as lucky as we are. There are people who are currently unemployed and looking for jobs. There are people who are unable to complete even to their secondary education. There are people who are currently confused on what to do or how to develop themselves. This problem exists in our society, and this is what drives me to my idea. Introducing collaborative platform, a solution to press the unemployment rate due to the development of technology. Let me introduce myself. My name is Elaine Charmandi, Faculty of Law, University of Indonesia, regular 2019, and I'm here as the finalist of Pemilihan Mahasiswa Berprestasi FHUI, and I'm here to present my idea. This idea, the collaborative platform, is concerning the 8th goal of SDG, which is decent work and economic growth, which goal is to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Specifically, this will be regarding point 8.1, which is regarding the economic growth, 8.3 regarding the support for productive activities, decent job creation, entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation, and 8.6 in regards to reducing the proportion of unemployment and uneducated or untrained workforce, specifically in Indonesia. If we're talking about my solution here, my idea, which is regarding the collaborative platform, this comes from the problem that exists in Indonesia right now, the problems of unemployment rate in Indonesia. As we can see in the table displayed on your screen, this shows the growth of workforce in Indonesia in the past 5 years. The number of people in the workforce are increasing each year, and it is all, and as well as the unemployment rate, which is on the far right, that has been increasing, especially rapidly in 2019 to 2020. As we can see in the graphic shown on your screen as well, Indonesia's unemployment rate is increasing for 1.84% in 2019 to 2020, reaching 9.77 million of people from the previously 7 7.1 million of people. There has been a rapid increase of the number of unemployment rate in Indonesia within that 1 year, which is continued by a decrease in Indonesia's economic growth by minus 2.19% if we compare the fourth quarter of 2019 to the fourth quarter of 2020. This is actually because of what we know and what we're actually facing right now, which is the pandemic, which comes in the early 2020 that has created lots of problems in Indonesia itself. More on the unemployment rate. If we want to know the reason behind the unemployment rate other than what happens during the pandemic, we should also see what are actually happening with our workforce. From this graphic shown on your screen, there are more than 50% of working Indonesian citizens that have not finished the 12 years of mandatory education. As we can see, the majority of the graphic shown that they have only completed their primary or even below education. And then another big part of it have only completed their secondary education, which is SMP, SMA, or other education that is the same as those education. This shows that our workforce in Indonesia is actually lacking the basic education that they need, because as the government has already put in the 12 years of mandatory education, these education are actually the basic for each Indonesian citizens for them to actually enter the workforce, for them to do whatever they want. But this is actually the basic that they need. But the graphic shows us, the data shows us that there's a lot of people who haven't finished their 12 years of mandatory education. And this are what I've been talking ever since the beginning of my presentation. Another data shows that even with the working citizens that we have in Indonesia, only about 10% of them do online transaction in their work. So as we can see in the graphic shown, even on the 2020 and 2021, with the rapid increase of the digitalization of technology, even until now, it's only about 10% of those who are currently working who do online transaction in their work, who purchases online, who completed their jobs online and such. And this shows that the remaining 90% of the workforce in Indonesia, they haven't do this online. They are most probably unfamiliar with how online things work. And these are actually the problem that will create bigger problem in the future. Before we continue on the unemployment rate, we should see one of the reasons behind this, which is the biggest reason other than the education that has been mentioned previously, which is the technological disruption that exists and happen in the status quo. Indonesia is currently facing technological disruption, both in the automation or digitalization way, which rapidly develops and impacts the working Indonesian. Several examples are machines or robots, which are able to replace human function. For example, what we can see, the secure parking that we know, or even in the toll gate. Previously, it was guarded by men who we can pay by cash, but now it's only guarded by machine and we can only tap our cards there. And that's it. Replace lots of people in that work field. But not only that, we can also have artificial intelligence, virtual and augmented reality, or in the digitalization way of work, people are working from home, people are telecommuting, and less people are coming to the office to do their job offline. This rapidly increased, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, as we have mobilization restriction. We are unable to go out from our house. We're unable to meet people. We're unable to do our job properly, which also resulted into 93% of jobs in the world are closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which also impact Indonesia. Several news in regards to these problems in Indonesia, that at least there are 160,000 workforce in Indonesia. They are stopped. They lose their job during the COVID-19 pandemic. And due to the automation, there are at least only because of the toll gate, there are at least 200,000 of workers there that are going to lose their job. This was happening in the 2016, and I believe it is still happening now, as there's a lots of other jobs that are being automated, being changed by the machine itself. And Indonesia have this idea, which they're planning to execute, which they're going to replace the pejabat eselon 3 and 4, which will, the first will be from Bappenas, to replace them with robot, with artificial intelligence, because they think this will increase the productivity, the effectiveness of the work. And hence, this resulted to another news, another problem that is super big and should be something that's concerning for all of us, that at least there will be 23 million of jobs that will be replaced by robots, which means at least 23 millions of jobs will lose in the future. And this is a problem. As we can see, our number of workforce are rapidly increasing each year, but with the loss of this job, this is not in line with what we want. If we want to eliminate or at least reduce the unemployment rate in Indonesia, we have to be able to replace this 23 million jobs that are being replaced by robots in order for our people, for Indonesian people, Indonesian workforce to still be able to do their job. One of my solution is in line with this interdisciplinary collaboration principle. This is a method of collaboration between two or more people with from different concentration of knowledge, different discipline, and for all of them, for these people to work together, to understand the work, to share their knowledge, and to complete their goal together. This is something that's been used in the medical field. For example, in the surgery, there are doctors from various specialists. They came, they gathered in that room, they completed the operation to solve the problem. This is the interdisciplinary collaboration that happens in the medical field. And I believe this interdisciplinary collaboration is something that is good and is something that should be implemented not only in the medical field, but also in other fields as well. As what the government and the ministry say, that we need the collaboration to increase, in this case, friendship, connection in the digital world. I believe that this collaboration is not only for the friendships, for connection, but also for other things, especially in the future. We hope this will solve the unemployment problem. As through this interdisciplinary collaboration, we're going to have knowledge sharing. We're going to gain more knowledge from other concentrations. We're going to collaborate to reach a certain goal and to increase the creativity and skills of the workforce in hope to create new job opportunities. The increase of these skills that are needed and in order to help them to tackle this problem can be done through optimization of education and interdisciplinary collaboration through my platform that I'm proposing right here is the collaborative platform. Before moving on to the collaborative platform, let's see about the optimalization of education. As we know that the government currently have the program Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka and Pelatihan Kartu Prakerja, we believe that this is a good thing, it's a good start for Indonesia, but this requires more optimization. For example, adjustment of curriculum and also socialization. As we can see, there are less, the number of people who participated in this program, both MBKM or Pelatihan Kartu Prakerja, is not as much as government has projected. And this, I believe, require more socialization from the government, be it from the government or from our students itself. But not only that, we believe that the accessibility also need to be increased in order for these programs to be able to run effectively and to tackle this problem. As we can see that Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka and Pelatihan Kartu Prakerja requires at least basic digital literacy for the people who wanted to participate in it. And so I believe that government should also learn how to reach the lower class of people who are currently not familiar with the digital literacy and teach them on how to enter this digitalization, this disruption of technology era. But my main solution is about the collaborative platform. It is not only application-based, but also community-based, platform aim to facilitate the interaction of meeting of various people from a plethora of backgrounds to collaborate. And this is not only a platform to share their knowledge, but also hopefully they're able to gain partners. They're able to gain people who have the same interests as them to create new job opportunities through the interdisciplinary collaboration that has been previously explained. The implementation of this solution will be done in 12 months with the following phases, starting from the conducting an initial research to the workforce. As if we wanted to solve the problem in Indonesia, we wanted to solve the problem in a certain area, we should know actually what the problems are. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to know what exactly the problem is? What do they actually need? We have to come to them. We have to ask them directly what they really need, what they expected, what are the solutions that they expected that we're going to have in this platform itself. But after that, we're going to plan the development of the collaborative platform with the help of people from other disciplines as well in creating the platform, which is the application based first. And then we're going to have the testing of the collaborative platform, and then socialization and launch of the platform, as well as the creation of this society, of the community of this platform here to go hand in hand with the application. And lastly, when we're settled, we're going to collaborate with relevant stakeholders. This solution, this idea, collaborative platform, hopes that we're able to solve the persistent problem of unemployment and to increase the speed of economic growth in Indonesia. As the famous quotes go, it takes two to tango, and bersatu kita teguh, bercerai kita runtuh. We believe that the collaboration here really needs to happen, and it's important. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and that's it.
Okay, that's a very on-time presentation. Thank you, Elaine. So we're going to have a question and answer session for 30 minutes. Maybe I would like to let Adam, can you be a first judge to ask question to Elaine?
Okay.
Okay.
First of all, thank you, Elaine, for the presentation. Maybe my question is this. I feel like the solution that you brought is a little bit too broad. First, in a way, you want to make a platform where people from different backgrounds different backgrounds can interact and learn from each other. First of all, my question about that is why is that urgent in the context of unemployment? Why is that urgent? And the second one is that I believe that you said that your platform also offer the goal is one of the goal is to gimana ya ngomongnya? Mohon maaf. Is to connect job seekers and job provider. So I feel like the solution is a little bit broad. You have a lot of problem that you want to tackle with this platform, different aspects. Let's say the first one, you want to connect people from different backgrounds, and the second one is you want to give people opportunities to meet with job recruiters. My question is, do you feel like that is effective? Because isn't that potentially make the solution become less focused on the unemployment itself? Maybe that's two questions for me. Thank you. I hope you can understand my question.
All right, thank you so much, Adam, for your question. It was a really good question. And I do agree that the solution seems to be something that is too broad, that is too idealistic in trying to tackle the problems that we have right now. And it may seem that by doing all of those, it seems that we're going to be unfocused and won't be able, for example, to tackle the problems that we have in the current status quo, which is the unemployment. But one thing to note that the key to solve the unemployment is how to be able to have these people to work, how to have these people to be employed. That's the key to solve the unemployment. But how are we going to do this? Through my solution. Firstly, which is through the collaborative platforms itself. But why? Before I proceed to continue to explain the collaborative platform, widen your first question is why then the existence of these collaborative platforms is urgent and is needed at the very first place. We can see that in the status quo, yes, there are lots of job listing online. There are lots of people who offers job position for people who are looking for job. There are lots of, for example, application that might help you to connect with people. For example, we have LinkedIn. We can see people's achievement, people's background there, people's portfolio, and if we want to reach someone, we can do it there. Or in LinkedIn, we also have job listing and other platforms as well. There are lots of job listing there. And for example, we have in thanks to what Bang Gozi mentioned previously, Fiverr, and also Mosello app, for example, which is an app for the freelance people to offer their services and for people to look for them. But the problem is that one, this facilities, these things that people need, which is to connect them with the job provider, is something that is currently still scattered. If you're looking for someone in the art sectors who are willing to help you, you should see it in Mosello. If you're looking for someone, for example, in the music one, you should see it in other app. If you're looking for someone to do something, you should see it in other app. Or if you're looking for a certain job, you should open the current the job listing there. But not only that, it will be hard for you if you're looking for someone. In this era, as the spirit goes, that we need the collaboration, it's hard for you to collaborate with people, as not everyone have a strong connection. As for example, we people in Faculty of Law, University of Indonesia have. Not everyone knows people from other disciplines. Not everyone knows, for example, not everyone have a friend from Faculty of Economic and Business. Not everyone have a friends from the Faculty of Technology or other things. These are actually the problem that I would like to tackle, that not only how to create jobs for them, but how to connect them. I believe that there are lots of people who have the brilliant ideas, for example, who wanted to create a startup, but they don't actually have the people who are who have the same vision as them, who have the capabilities that's needed. For example, if you wanted to create a consulting startup, you want to tackle from the law section as well. You want to tackle from the business section as well, management section. You need people from other concentration. But sadly, not everyone is as privileged to know or to have friends from other discipline. This is something that I would like to tackle. But how? Because this is actually something that, as simple as we can reach them through social media, right? That's why this platform exists, because we will not only connect them, but we're going to help them to actually find which one is the most suitable one. As the dating application, as we can see that they're trying to connect you with someone that have the similar interests as you are. This platform also tries to connect these people from similar interest, who have the similar interests as you are. So this will help in connecting these people, but also providing as a medium for them to discuss. We provide a platform for them to discuss, and hopefully they're able to create new jobs in the future. But then how this will be effective? How back to the root cause, which is the unemployment, and the only solution to unemployment is how to provide to help these people to be employed. Then the main idea and the main use of this collaborative platform is actually one, to help them in finding a job and to hopefully create new jobs in the future to replace the 23 million jobs that are currently endangered and will disappear in the coming years. This, how to make this then effective is that we are gathering all of this in one platform. We have, how are you going to look for jobs? We have the section there. We have the job listing section. We have the section where we are going to connect you with people from other platform, from other concentration. We have the section where even as simple as if you need someone to help you to do things. For example, if you are selling foods, you need someone to help you how to market my food, or the social media campaign that I need to do. Or for example, as simple as the financial literacy that not everyone have. This platform will also tries to connect that. So there are lots of collaboration that will happen in this platform, and this platform aims to actually focus everything in regards to the unemployment. In regards to the employment in this platform to tackle the unemployment issues. So hopefully this will be something that is big. This will be something that will be useful for people. And this will be something that hopefully will solve the unemployment problem in every aspects that we can think of it. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to conclude a few things. Correct me if I'm wrong. First, before I was confused on why connecting people with different backgrounds is relevant to battling unemployment itself. But you said that it's not just to learn from each other. This platform hope that by connecting them, there will be opportunities for collaboration. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the second one I want to conclude is basically this platform is to give people opportunities to work, to seek jobs. That's the main focus instead of like education and so on. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's all from me. Thank you so much, Elaine, for the answers. Good luck.
All right. Thank you so much, Adam.
Okay, thank you, Adam, for the question. For the next judge to ask a question, maybe Mbak Iva. Are you? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Angga, for the change. Okay, so thank you, Elaine, for your presentation. This is actually quite interesting ideas. So you and Evelyn both offer the problems in form of apps. Apps is good, but sometimes the problem with apps is one apps can solve a lot of problems, but too much apps, it can add more problems, right? So I see that basically your apps is like LinkedIn, but versi Indonesia, okay, Indonesian version. I see that there are a lot of features that already exist in LinkedIn, JobStreet, which can gather people from different background, and even the LinkedIn nowadays have provide training skills. So what do you want is to make it Indonesian version? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Sorry, and I just want to add that how it is different with the former existing system. And previously, Prakerja already offered a solution for those who was to training. They offer the collaboration with Skill Academy Ruang Guru. So how you compete with that, with the existing system available? And for those who can access it online, actually the government already have solution, which is Balai Latihan Kerja, which basically provide a lot of training, but offline. So I mean, like your solution, is it really need to exist? Or maybe it is not necessary because we already have previous system. And the second is, one of the problem with the application, it is heavily rely on the technology. So how you solve the problem if there are a lot of unemployed people who doesn't have device or not a high-tech people, or they don't even have quota to do that? How you solve it? Okay, that's all my question. Thank you, Elaine.
All right. Thank you so much, Maifa, for your question. That is a good point that actually this maybe not all benefits that I'm actually proposing here and offers here exist, and the several platforms that we have, for example, LinkedIn or other job listing applications, right? But what makes it then firstly different with other platforms is that, as previously mentioned in how answering Adam's question, that here I do agree that too much application will cause a problem, but application might be a solution. This is actually the principle that I'd like to make, because in Indonesia, or just in general, we have too much application currently having in the current status quo. If we're looking for job listings, we should look it from several applications, several websites that provide these job listings, and sometimes it might be even different. This is but not only that, on how to, if we want to connect ourselves with people, we should do it from other platforms as well. If we want to find someone to do things for us, we should find it from other platforms as well. This much in the current status quo, this yes, the benefit exists, but it is from several applications which offers different benefits on their own. And this is something that I'd like to tackle. I'd like to actually combine it to one app because, as previously mentioned, that in Indonesia, especially, that people are having low basic digital literacy in the current status quo. We want to make this as simple as easy for them. We want to make this as something that is, if you're looking for anything, you might find it here. We don't want to create this confusion that, if you're looking for someone to do this, just look it from this app. If you're looking for this, just look it from this app. This created actually a confusion among these people. And this is something that I'd like to tackle, that this collaborative platform is here. This collaborative platform will provide the answers to your question. But not only that, this collaborative platform is actually focused more on the interdisciplinary collaboration that we want to create through this platform. We wanted to connect, which is one of our main goal is how to create new job opportunities, not only to how to connect people with the existing job, but how are we going to provide a medium for people to actually brainstorm together, a medium for people to actually find their partners in creating new job field, in regards in hope to actually replace or to compensate at least for the 23 million of job that we'll lose or in the future. Then this our main goal is actually to provide a medium for these people to collaborate. Yes, this might be done through the social media that we have in the current status quo. This might be done by LinkedIn that we have in the current status quo. But do note that from those platforms, we should be the one who are doing the active approach. We should be the one who are doing the actively seeking for people who have the same incentives as we are. We should actively find someone who fulfills what we want. But in this platform, we try to actually connect them. So it's not doing the active approach might be hard for other people, for those who are socially awkward, for example, or hard for them to connect with new people, for example. It might be hard for them to actually connect or to do the active approach to other people. And this is what we wanted to tackle. We wanted to not only help them in approaching these people, but we also wanted to connect them with the people with the right candidate that will help them to connect and to collaborate through this platform, which is the medium. Because sometimes even if you do your personal approach, you do your active approach, you might not find someone who's suitable, who actually have the same interest as you are. And this is something that we would like to tackle. We would like to help in the current status quo, as we believe that collaboration is important. But then we also have this the programs by the government in the current status quo, which is Kartu Prakerja, that give them trainings, and also maybe for the offline settings is the Balai Latihan Kerja itself. How this will be different? Firstly, the education trainings and the platform is two different things. That's why I propose two solutions, which is one, the optimalization of education, and secondly is the platform, the collaborative platform. So I believe that the education, the skills needed by the people is actually the basic capital for them to enter the workforce, is the things that they need at the very first place for them to be able to do their job, for them to be able to create new jobs, for example, or to enter the work field. And this is something that should go hand in hand. That's why the solution that we have in the current status quo, the Kartu Prakerja, the pelatihan prakerja given by the government, is not something that we would like to challenge, but is something that we would like to collaborate with. That's why I have this optimization of education solution that I believe that the Kartu Prakerja effectiveness should be increased. But then I previously mentioned that in Kartu Prakerja should also tackle these people with less basic digital literacy and such. But and there are actually solutions in the current status quo that provide its Balai Latihan Kerja. But to my knowledge is that Balai Latihan Kerja, do correct me if I'm wrong, is something that is focused more on the skills of the people offline. So it's not something, it's not necessarily teach everyone how to do things online, how to familiarize themselves with this online situation, but also but more to how to increase their skills. For example, how to do tenunan baju, how to create something from scratch and such, or how to do things. And this, I believe the Balai Latihan Kerja's existence is actually something good, something that will help the unemployment rate. But this is not something that is able to tackle the basic digital literacy needed by the people. So, as proposed by as proposed in my optimization of education solution, I believe that the existence of Kartu Prakerja and Balai Latihan Kerja is something good. This is not something that we challenge, but we believe that the government should increase this by providing them with more basic digital, basic digital literacy for these people, because this is good. But without the basic digital literacy, it is we are afraid that in the future, this workforce who don't have this basic digital literacy won't be able to compete, won't be able to survive in the technological disruption era. Hence, that is my answer for the first question. And for the second question, that this platform heavily rely on technologies, but my data has shown itself that only 10% of workforce in Indonesia do their job through the online section, through online transactions, right? Yes, that problem exists. That's why this solution, this platform, actually, and not only an application, exists in two forms, which is one, an application, and secondly is the community that's previously mentioned in my presentation. Why then this two is important? Because we wanted to solve this problem in a hand-in-hand way. Firstly, when we launch this problem, yes, this will take small steps. Only people who have basic digital literacy will participate in this platform. Will try to use this platform and make the advantage to themselves. On how are they going to find the jobs? How are they going to collaborate with other people? But with hand-in-hand with the education that we hope the government will soon provide for these people, the people with people equipped with basic digital literacy will soon enter this application as well. Will soon collaborate through this application as well. But we should not heavily rely to the government only. That's why we have our community here. This community exists in the offline settings, or as simple as maybe people in the social media creating groups, or like a support system for them. But this is actually a collaborative platform community. How are we going to do this? For those people who wanted to use this application, we're going to create them the how-to. We're going to teach them, to conduct them. But not only that, this community exists at the very first place to actually encourage them, to support them, that to make use of this application at the very first place. So yes, this heavily relies on technology, and this might only get the attention of people who have basic digital literacy at the first place. But as the time goes by, with hand in hand with our community, hand in hand with the education provided by the government, it is hoped that everyone will soon be able to participate in this platform, will be able to make use of this platform, and hopefully this will solve the unemployment problem that exists in the status quo. I hope it answers your question, Mbak Iva. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Elaine. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Iva. For the next judges to ask a question, I believe Mbak Tirta, if you may.
Okay. Thank you, Elaine, for the presentation. I'll just make it a short question because I think we are running out of time. I am still curious about your proposal on this platform. On if you stated previously that unemployment in Indonesia is caused by various factors, and one of it is the technology disruption. Okay. and many job sectors will be replaced by robots, for example. So how do you think that this collaborative platform is effective in providing people with job opportunities if the job opportunity itself is replaced by robots or is disrupted by technology? Okay, that is my first question. My second question is, you know that job sectors varied, right? Formal, informal, be it the institutions or the types of the jobs itself. And the job seekers also varied in their backgrounds. Some are educated, some are not educated. So can your platform accommodate all this? Okay, if someone just wanted to work as a maid or as a chauffeur, or someone just wanted to hire a maid or a chauffeur, for example, can they use this collaborative platform? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Metita, for your question. It is a very great question. Firstly, thank you for asking this on how is then the collaborative platform will be able to effectively tackle the unemployment issue in regards to the 23, specifically 23 millions of jobs that will be replaced by robots in the future. As previously stated, and as we all agree that if we lost something, we should find a replacement for it. Then if we lost this 23 millions of jobs in the future, we should have a replacement for it, especially in the increasement of the rapid increasement of the workforce in Indonesia, number of people in the workforce. With this increasement, we need more platform, we need more jobs for them. But with the loss of this 23 million jobs, that means that will be lots of deficits here, deficits of job field for them, deficits of job fields for them, but with a too much surplus of number of workers in Indonesia. That's why this is something that we would like to tackle, that we would like to teach or to send the narratives to these workers that especially to the people, that working is not only doing something that has already exists at the very first place. That in order to tackle this, that's why we have this collaborative platform, is that we aim for people to actually collaborate in creating new job opportunities, new job fields. Yes, we have the other benefits, for example, connecting people from job seekers to job provider, connecting people from other various backgrounds. But what we actually aim here is for them to have this discussion and to create new job opportunities. As previously mentioned, that there might be lots of people who wanted to create a business, but they couldn't find someone who are able to actually collaborate with them. They couldn't find someone who are actually able to help them. For example, in doing certain business, you need financial aspects there, you need legal aspects there, you need lots of aspects there. And there are lots of people who are unable to find those people who have the same vision as them, who are suitable for them to be their partner in creating that new job opportunities. And hence it resulted to that idea being not conducted, and hence it's just gone. And this is something that we would like to tackle. This is something that we hope through this medium, through this platform, that we have provided them with the facility to actually connect with people, to help them to discuss with people, or at least just to share, to transfer their knowledge with people. This is actually hope to be the future of our the future of tackling this unemployment issue, which is to create new job opportunities, to create new job opportunities, to create lots of job fields that will replace, or at least be the compensation of this 23 million of jobs that will be replaced by robots. So that's one thing. How are we going to effectively try to tackle the problem exists in the status quo? But secondly, how are we going to connect people from various backgrounds? As we know, there are lots of work fields in the current status quo, informal, formal sectors. People, especially in people's background, they're educated, not educated, trained, less educated, trained, less trained, and such. this platform will actually try to connect them. Because as we see, even in the current status quo, LinkedIn, there are lots of people, lots of driver, chauffeur there who actually try to post their CV now, looking for people who wanted to recruit them. And since, as we can see, these people, or for example, this housemate or chauffeur, or for example, driver or ojek online and such, these people are trying to actually enter the digital era, the digital platform, but they are not actually provided with it. For people with freelance, for example, friends that are doing design, digital design, people are doing creating music, for example, they have their platform, they're familiar with using Fiverr, they're familiar with using Mozilla, for example, but not everyone is familiar as them to do that. And we wanted to actually focus it to one platform, which is this collaborative platform, that people can offer their service there. People can offer, hi, I'm a chauffeur, I'm looking for a job. If you are located in this area and you're looking for a chauffeur, you may contact me here, or whatever it is. And this is something that this platform is trying to accommodate that. So yes, with the various benefits that we're trying to actually provide here, we're trying to give them here. This is, hopefully, this will try to cater people from various backgrounds. And yes, there will be no limitation for who are going to be the user of this application and who are going to be part of this community itself. I hope that answers your question and curiosity, Mbak Tirta. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Mbak Tirta. So we're still have 40 seconds left, Bang Aristio. Because Bang Aristio haven't asked a question, maybe Elaine, is it okay if we add 2 minutes for Bang Aristio to ask a question? Okay, so Bang Aristio, silakan.
Well, I can just have a very, very, very quick questions. Well, first, I think I really like the ideas of having or tackling the problems of, people replaced by technology and everything. But then I was like really waiting for what would be the concrete ideas and what would be the different, like the breakthrough. But I think that your proposal is very much same with LinkedIn. Like everything that you said, like collaborating different background, different discipline. Well, LinkedIn can do that, right? We're a lawyer, we can connect with economics, we can connect it with business people. They provide platform, right? But the only thing different that you mentioned earlier is that there will be someone who help connecting it, right? That is a feature that LinkedIn doesn't have. Why do you think that is important, right? Because we can randomly search, we can research, we can dig backgrounds, etc. Why do you think that is a significant background? Significant different. And the second one is that I think what is more important is, okay, people decide to connect, people decided to collaborate, right? They share same ideas, etc. But then how to turn that ideas into reality, it's far more complicated, right? They need more resource, they need capital, for example. I think that is what is more important, right? How to turn the idea, the connections into a reality. And how do you think to address that problems when people, okay, let's having a collaborations. Do you have any suggestions, idea, or program to help them realizing their commitment, for example? Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Bang Aristio, for your question. Thank you for asking that as well. Simple question on simple answer on why connecting people is important, because as we can see that not everyone can actually find someone who's suitable for them. Not everyone is able to do the active approach and connecting with someone through LinkedIn, for example. Not everyone is as brave to text someone, hi, do you want to collaborate with me? Hi, I see that you have this interest. Are you going to do, you wanted to do this with me? Not everyone is as brave to do that. But I believe that with this collaborative platform, that if they enter this platform at the very first place, that means they're seeking for people from other disciplines. They're seeking for collaboration from other people. That means the people there, those who text it first, or those who are reaching it first and being reached out, is something that is someone that really have this idea, have this willingness to collaborate with people. Because sometimes what we see that in the current status quo, for example, reaching someone through LinkedIn, these people might just read your text and not replying to you, for example, it will be hard for you to collaborate with people when you don't know whether that someone wanted to collaborate with you at the very first place. And this often lessen the bravery of someone to actually connect with other people. And this is something that we would like to tackle at the very first place. But second, in regards on how to turn this to reality, thank you for asking this question, as this is something that I haven't explained previously. On my fifth that we're going to try to collaborate with the various stakeholders. Those various stakeholders name, for example, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Kementerian Ketenagakerjaan, I'm so sorry, as well as various company itself. What are we aiming in collaborating with them? We wanted them to actually help us that this platform can actually benefit them at the very first place. For example, the government, they have the obligation to provide jobs for their people, but they're unable to do it right now. But this platform actually try to facilitate that. And we hope that they are going to help us. How? They can actually collaborate us with several ways. For example, creating classes for them, or socialization for them on how to create new business. For example, basic financial literacy, or as simple as perizinan in creating new jobs. There are lots of things that can be collaborated, and we can actually provide them classes. But not only that, with the community, we hope that this will also support them. But in regards to capital, with collaborating with the stakeholders as well, we're hoping that these stakeholders can actually help them in providing the capital with the system that we're projecting right now. Just like how Mahasiswa is selected, these people who have this solution, this idea, they can actually propose it with the openings of capital provided, and this will then solve the problem. I hope it's answered your question. Thank you so much, Bang.
Okay, thank you very much, Elaine. That was very excellent presentation. So I would like to give the audience to give applause to Elaine. Okay, this marked the ends of your presentation, Elaine. After this, you can watch your friends, finalists here, or you can have a class or something. So yeah, good luck for the future endeavors.
All right. My proposal gives no guarantee to stop the unemployment, but I hope the journey of 1,000 miles begin with one step. And in my case, one discussion, multiple discipline, and one platform. Thank you so much for the fruitful discussion and feedbacks to all the judges and the committee. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Santi Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya. Warm greetings for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine. Okay, so the judges that is attending via Zoom, we're going to have a break from now to 1 p.m. We're going to start the second session at 1 p.m. So yeah, from now until 1 p.m., this is the recess time. So if the judges have others things to attend to, or maybe something to tense off, feel free to do it. We're going to be back again at 1 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angga.